Then they came to Jerusalem, and he entered the temple and began to drive out those who were selling and those who were buying in the temple. And he overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold doves. And he would not allow anyone to carry anything through the temple. He was teaching and saying, "Is it not written, my house shall be called a house of prayer for all the nations? But you've made it a den of robbers." And when the chief priests and the scribes heard it, they kept looking for a way to kill him, for they were afraid of him, because the whole crowd was spellbound by his teaching. And when evening came, Jesus and his disciples went out of the city. It's a short glimpse of Monday, right? But it's power-packed. Let me add some details. You probably are very familiar with this story too. Let me add some details you might not be familiar with. Spellbound is a dangerous place to be, says Kelly Morrissey. I agree. What you might not be familiar with are some of the sort of rabbinic and Jewish legal backdrops. For one thing, it was a custom, according to the Mishnah, it was a custom to set up these booths and bring the animals in for sacrifice and all of those things 3 weeks in advance of Passover, right? So Mishnah tells us that this wasn't a standing merchandise. It was brought in for the big seasons, and relative to Passover, it was brought in 3 weeks early to accommodate the crowd, because people came from all over to celebrate the Passover in Jerusalem. So there are estimates as to how much the city's size swelled during that Passover feast. It would have been a huge increase. Like I live in Austin, Texas, where at one time, Austin, Texas was 250,000 people, and the university was 80,000 people. And so it was a huge percentage of the population, right? Seasonal. Some of you are from snowbird places where seasonal rise. Well, the festivals of the Jews brought huge population into Jerusalem, still do, right? And so you've got this glut of population, which is a new market for these folks. The custom was 3 weeks ahead. We also know from the Mishnah that Rabbi Simeon ben Gamaliel, who is Simeon, the son of Gamaliel, at one point said, it's good that we have the accommodation so that people who don't have enough money, and this is Leviticus law, people who don't have enough money for a lamb can buy a turtle dove. Moses took care of that. But Simeon ben Gamaliel said, I am upset at the price that we charge people, right? So if, as Jesus is often pictured by us, by preachers, by Bible studies, if Jesus is coming to say, you're putting a barrier between worshipers and God, you're making people who can't afford a turtle dove, can't afford a dove, go away empty from the very center of God's forgiveness, right? If his protest is against the practices of temple merchandising, he wasn't alone. Simeon ben Gamaliel and others, likely, of the rabbis were uncomfortable with the prices being charged because they were keeping people out. So when we look at this and say, is Jesus's prophetic act, because this looks a lot like the prophets of Israel, is his prophetic act aimed at reforming the temple? His voice isn't alone in that, right? Aimed at reforming the temple practices.